thingy.
And with that, we're live. Welcome to not the Mountain Dew bloating podcast, but Gamersledge video game and geekery podcast. Dear Lord, this is how this
Spray
is
all over my computer.
Don't do that. None of us can afford a new computer for you. Welcome to the Gamersledge Podcast. This is episode, oh Lord, I forgot to write down what episode it is. 285? Yeah, there it is, 285. Gamersledge episode 285, The Fate of the Loot Box. Because we're going to be talking a little bit about loot boxes at a later point tonight. A subject both near and dear to both of our hearts. No, not really. But
they're almost as bad as like gacha games.
Well, there's something's happened in the world today that's going to make us talk a bit about them. It is also, of course, new Avengers movie Eve. Technically, it doesn't come out till Friday, but that means it comes out on Thursday, which means probably they're somewhere showing shows tonight because that's how this stuff seems to work. Avengers, Infinity War is almost upon us. I, your intrepid host, will not be seeing it until Sunday, so I will be on internet blackout starting in about 12 hours because people are jerks and don't know how to keep their fool fingers from typing stuff that some of us don't want to read, including publishers who put spoilers in their headline and little snippets that go at the top of Facebook posts. Yeah, I'm talking to you guys. Stop it. So yeah, so there's that going on. And so a lot of good gaming buzz going on. So let's get into this thing. So, as oft we are wont to do, we will start off by going over what it is we've been enjoying and whether we not think it's worth your entertainment dollar, and whether that dollar is physical currency or time, depending on how you prefer it. We'll go into that. So I will go first. It has not been a terribly busy gaming period, as you can tell for me from the last several weeks. Gaming time has just been at a real premium, but we will go over what I have done. I fired up Battlefront 2, Star Wars Battlefront 2 for the PlayStation 4, in my case, and because there is a limited time Ewok hunt mode that came out. And I was intrigued by this thing and wanted to see what it was all about. It is a free update. It's a temporary event, as many of the online shooters are doing these days. It's a time limited event. I think it's only through this week. I think this is the last week of it. And the idea is it's a sort of an asymmetrical thing. It's, if I'm remembering correctly, 18 players, and 16 of you start out as stormtroopers on Endor in the dark. And 2 of you are Ewoks. Ewoks apparently can see in the dark. Apparently for the Battle of Endor, they thought that was going to be such a cakewalk. They went with the cheap stormtrooper helmets without the night vision. So all you have is an EL-11 with a little flashlight on it. And all you can see is what's in the cone of this flashlight, except for the places where there is indigenous light for various reasons. So you start off with the normal E11 blaster and the flashlight, which has to turn off every so often to recharge. There is, as far as I ever saw, one other weapon type that you can find in the world, in the wild, which lets you have unlimited flashlight, presents a different blaster profile. However, the flashlight is a narrower cone than the one on the E11, but you can always leave it on. As the Ewoks kill stormtroopers, those players then become Ewoks. So it's a survival goal. The goal of the stormtroopers is make it until the shuttle arrives, and at least one of them make it to the shuttle and escape Endor at night after the Battle of Endor. If any stormtrooper makes it to the shuttle, the stormtroopers win. If the Ewoks kill all the stormtroopers, the Ewoks win.
What if they kill all the Ewoks?
Ewoks respawn infinitely.
Oh, cool.
So once you start as an Ewok, or once you become an Ewok, then you just respawn like you normally would in a shooter game like this. So in that way, the Ewoks have the advantage. The Ewoks can see in the dark, so they have an advantage. Interesting thing, they brought in an element from one of the TV Ewok movies. The Witsties from Battle for Endor are a part of this game, which just tickles my Star Wars geeky heart to no end. So that was cool. Ewoks are incredibly hard to hit with a blaster in the dark because they're small. They're like this big. Once they get to your ankles and start stabbing you with their spear, it's very hard to point your blaster that low and shoot them.
That's when you just start meleeing back.
Yeah, that's really what you end up doing. You just kind of look down and start meleeing. But if you don't know exactly where they're stabbing you from, even that becomes hard. So I found my favorite position is to start out as an Ewok. Will be one of the 2 starter Ewoks. That's my favorite position to start in the game. I was in some rounds where the Stormtroopers won. I was a Stormtrooper. I was in some rounds where the Ewoks won. And at that point, you were the Ewok. I was never the last Stormtrooper. I was the second to last Stormtrooper to die, but I was never the last Stormtrooper to die. There are definitely some strategies that you could tell people who had been playing this mode. They had figured out ways to, okay, do this, and this maximizes. There's an element in the game that makes the Stormtroopers, if you're working as a group, you're probably going to win. So there's some
just
imbalance.
Walk in a giant square.
It's not even that. It's a topography feature that's very hard for the Ewoks to overcome, because your one ranged attack is almost impossible to kill with unless a bunch of you do it at the same time. So it's just a topography feature that lends itself to advantage to the Stormtrooper. That's not to say that if you don't get enough Stormtroopers there, or you don't get, just have a bad bunch of folks who are just not really paying attention to the points they need to be paying attention to, you can get overrun by the Ewoks pretty quickly too. I would have said initially that the Ewoks had the advantage, and then I would have said that the Stormtroopers had the advantage. And then I kind of went back to, I think the Ewoks actually have the advantage, but again, it all depends on the crew you're playing with. There was one guy when I started out as an Ewok, I always wanted him to be one of my first victims, because once he became an Ewok, he was a Stormtrooper murdering machine. I mean, he just was insane at how good at an Ewok he was at taking out Stormtroopers. So if I ever was a starting Ewok, my goal was to find him and take him out early.
Good plan.
Didn't always work, but it was a plan. The Ewok skins, I think there were like 4. There was a Tebow style skin, a Low Gray style skin, a Wicket style skin. And if you know these Ewok names, you probably don't. So I'm speaking Greek to you. And
no, Wicket's the brown one, and Tebow's the gray one, right?
Gray striped, light and dark gray stripes.
Yeah. The other 2 I didn't recognize. Are they the ones from the Ewok movie?
No, those are both ones from in the actual regular Return of the Jedi. Okay. They are also in the Ewok movie, the first one, the Caravan of Courage. Yeah, it's kind of funny when Ewoks come. Yeah, Ewoks come running. A bunch of Ewoks come running at you, and you don't have your flashlight shining on them directly. All you see is glowing eyes coming at you. So yeah, it's kind of a little bit creepy that way. Ewoks apparently eyes glow in the dark when you have a flashlight near them. I suppose it's kind of like a dog or a cat. You see their eyes reflect.
That'd actually be kind of like jump scares for me. Like I'd just be standing there with my little tiny E11 and be like, I'm watching you. Oh crud!
Well, all of a sudden you hear them, and it's just like, oh crap, where is it? Especially
you walk to like.
I guess I can tell you this. The Ewoks come with 3 abilities. One is a grenade ability. That's the Witsies. So they slingshot a bag of Witsies, and they hamper and hurt the Stormtroopers. It's also just kind of psychologically, the people who get through it better are the ones who aren't thrown off by something like that going off in their face. Mm-hmm. They also have Hunter Sense, which allows you to better know where the Stormtroopers are or where they're going. And then their third ability is the horn from Return of the Jedi. And that ability, it actually blow the horn so you hear it if you're the stormtroopers, and that's a health buff. You're more durable for a short time after you do that. That said,
does the horn have an AoE effect on like any of your nearby Ewok allies, or?
I don't know. Usually you're by yourself, at least very early on. You're generally not around with a lot of them. I didn't notice an AoE when you were surrounded. Like there'd be times where there'd be a group of us and we'd all blow horn and then do what it was we were going to do. I didn't notice an AoE, but that could just be because we were all kicking it off at the same time.
Yeah.
That would make sense if it did, but it was also kind of a call to arms. You're like, hey, over here, something's going on, go over that way. It was very fun, although it is very frustrating being an Ewok in a forest with large rocks and fallen trees, and you can't get over anything because your legs are so short. Horrible evolutionary advantage, terrible evolution going on there.
You know how short people feel.
Yeah, I guess. It's terrible to jump over those giant logs and rocks in the woods when you're a short person. But as far as that kind of stuff goes, it was fun. I don't think I would ever do it again. I mean, I did it for a while one day and it was fun, but that was kind of it. But yeah, it was worth the go. It was worth firing up. It was worth downloading the 6 gigs of updates or whatever it was to be able to do it. Fortunately, I had the presence of mind to do it the day before, initiate the update process so that I wasn't sitting there waiting for it.
Makes sense.
So yeah, that was fun. I finished, because I don't think I finished this last show. I finished Telltale's Guardians of the Galaxy.
Nice.
I enjoyed that quite a bit. First episode was rough.
I'm guessing, does that tie into the MCU at all? Or is it
no. It's its own. It's much like most of the Telltale stuff. It's its own version of the universe.
I was just checking, like if it was supposed to happen between movies and if it tied in.
No,
or anything.
no.
Because I mean, that's something that Squeenix would pull, would do.
Well, this is Telltale, not Squeenix.
Well, yeah, I know.
All right, but it does the same thing that the comics kind of did when the movie came out. It kind of started borrowing the look of the things from the movie. So it's the costumes look like the movie, but the faces look like the comic books, if that makes any sense. Because Gamora's got the yellow around her eyes. Star-Lord looks like he does in the comics. It doesn't look like
so it plays a bit more on the popularity of the movie a bit, but it's still keeping true to the original format,
right. You've got the Milano, which isn't what his ship was in the comics before the movie. You've got the dadgummit blue guy.
Oh, Yondu.
Yeah, thank you. Yondu's in there and looks like he did in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 for some reason.
I'm Mary Poppins, y'all. And
somebody doing a really bad Mike Roker impersonation, which is funny. Why don't you just get Mike Roker, because he does voice acting? I met Mike Roker once. I don't know if I ever told you that.
I don't think so. No. That Yondu?
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice guy. Something you always hear about him is he's a nice guy. So it was very good. Highlight in episode 4, one of the action sequences is set to Stone Cold Crazy by Queen. So the music element that was brought in by the movies is very much there. Every episode is titled after 70s or 80s era song. I think all the chapters are song titles too, I think, or at least most of them are. So, it keeps that element to it. He's got a mixtape, which is different than the mixtape from either of the movies, but still made it with his mom, so there's similarities, right? They drew from both the comics and the Berbiter movies and kind of fused it into their own unique thing. That said, it's a Telltale game. If you, as a gamer, know that you do not like, by the way, I think I said Ewok mode is worth your time to go ahead and try, give it a shot. You might enjoy being either Stormtroopers or Ewoks. The Telltale game, if you don't like Telltale games, this will not change your mind. It is still one part adventure game. Walk around, click X to find stuff and investigate things and, do stuff. And one part basically QTEs of sweep right, sweep left, push X, push square, it's not an action game. So if you don't like that formula, you're not going to like this game. But if you enjoy Guardians of the Galaxy, if you enjoy the Telltale style of games, I'd say this one is very much worth your time. It's not quite to the level of Batman. Batman was better. Batman season 1. I haven't played season 2 yet. Aside from the graphical glitches, I did not notice any graphical glitches in this one, like missing people or effects that didn't work. So it seems like the QA on this one, at least at this point, I don't know when it first came out, but at this point, it seems like those are pretty much gone. Although I think by the time your brother played Batman, most of the Batman issues were gone too. So, and that was season 1. Again, still haven't played season 2. It's on my list. I've been having a lot of short periods of time, like right after I get home or something, there'll be a little bit of time where you're just kind of filling some dead space. I should be reading during those times, but instead I've been playing Trackmania, which is one of the PlayStation Plus games that came out this month. It's largely it's basically a racer for racers who want to race on courses that take less than a minute. So the tracks are all very short. I mean, the long ones are the ones that are multi-laps, and those will get to like a minute and a half for a race. It's all time-based, you're racing against ghosts. Or times, you're not racing against other cars,
right?
Which is good because the tracks are hard enough to navigate themselves sometimes, much less putting extra traffic in there would just be ridiculous.
Right.
There's multiplayer, there's VR component, there's a bunch of stuff. All I've done is played the single player campaign going through the circuits. I do not like off-roading in this game. It is way too hard. The margin of error in this game to get the medals is very thin. And the off-road courses just introduce way too much variability. All you have to do is be like a micron off and you just throw your car off into chaos. And it did not sit well with me. I got through them just to get through them, but yeah. Trackmania, again, if you have PlayStation Plus, that's a game you have access to at no extra cost. It's worth a try. It's a good time filler. Like I said, each of the tracks are like on average 30 seconds or less. So, you play through a couple times, try to get the gold medal up to the gold medal. You either get it, you don't, move on, keep working on it, whatever you want to do. There is an element of what if Hot Wheel tracks were real to this game. So there's like ridiculous loop-de-loops in some of the courses. There's a lot of drifting around corners. So yeah, it's pretty fun. And it's like I said, it's just kind of a quick, and there's tons of tracks. I'm only on the third group of 10, and there's probably 16 groups of 10, I think, tracks. So it's either 9 or 16. I don't know if it's 4x4 or 12. So I don't know if it's 3x4 or 4x4. But anyway, there's a lot there. So it'll be one that'll just hang around on mine for when I've got a few minutes to kill and don't know what else to do.
Right.
And then the big one, the giant elephant in the gaming room that I had avoided thus far, partially intentionally, partially not. The stars aligned. My wife was available to watch. Nothing else was going on. So I stuck my toe into the ginormous thing that is The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. And pretty much the things from watching you and your brother play that I thought were good are good, and the things that I thought were garbage are kind of garbage. I do not like the breaking weapons. It's not that you're ever really lacking for weapons, but it's just frustrating, right? How many Bokoblin, however you're supposed to pronounce that, clubs do I need to drag around with me?
Bokoblin?
Whatever. Oh, hey, here's a Moblin club, which is only marginally better in two-handed, which has its own disadvantages. I guess I'll go back down to the 3 damage regular club. I don't know. That whole system just is.
It gets a bit better late game, because then you actually have some weapons that have variable effects, like up to durability, or like some of them are literally designed to be thrown and instantly destroyed, but are designed to have that kind of range and damage boost for doing that. even though you lose it almost instantly. And then you also get the elemental weapons eventually. You come across some of those, which are personally some of my favorite weapons in the game, like the ice spears, the lightning spears, and the fire spears, and all the fire swords and great swords. I tend to avoid the heavy weapons just because I don't like them. But
well, yeah, the only thing nice about the two-handed weapons, and of course, I do have Keegan tutorial. I have Keegan, your brother, was there, and he was tutorializing me through the whole thing. So basically, the fact that the game doesn't have a tutorial was completely overridden by the fact that I had watched both of you doing stuff, and I had your brother there telling me, "Oh, do this. Oh, do that. Oh, hey, push that." Hey, not like where to go or how to solve the puzzles or stuff like that,
right.
but more like combat and navigation stuff.
Right.
One big complaint. I understand without innovation, no change can come about.
Right.
But sometimes button layouts that have been well established and work should not be messed with. I don't know how many times I've gone to sprint and crouched. Because to me, sprint, you push in a lot of games, you push in the stick.
Yeah.
You push in the left stick to sprint. And nope, that's crouch. Son of a as your brother knows, sprint is X.
The X is the
top. X is the top. It's just A. Whatever's the bottom button.
That's B.
I can't remember the number.
B for bottom.
Of them.
Wait. Now you're
attack is the left button. Jump is the top button.
X.
The right button, I don't remember what it does. It must not do anything. And then
so yeah, A is to interact.
Yeah.
Yeah, B for bottom. B for bottom. A for attack.
It doesn't matter. But I mean, jump being the top button is weird, and yeah, you can adjust it so it jumps the bottom button. But then that makes it weird.
But actually, top buttons actually is like a semi-common one. It's generally either bottom button or top button. See, I've noticed for jumping.
Your brother said that same thing. So you must just play different games than I do, and maybe it's a DS. Maybe it's a bunch of DS games were aligned that way. I don't know, but I have not seen triangle be a jump button like barely ever.
Well, it's not as common as X, but it's still out there.
Or even B. Is that I can never
B's bottom.
B is bottom. So A
is the right.
Even A being jump would have made sense to me, but
really? Anyway. Circle?
What?
Circle for your
circle.
Wait, circle. The circle jump in Kingdom Hearts?
I think it is.
Yeah, that was weird.
Anyway, the control layout is I haven't played it enough for it to become intuitive, right? The asymmetric stick layout, I'm still getting used to. That's just a problem of me having only pretty much played PlayStation games for the last umpteen years.
Right.
So having the offset sticks is still, my fingers don't automatically reset that position.
Right. Maybe as younger people are just more adjustable to that and can pick that up easier, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. A lot of people say that they like that better. That game on both Xbox and PlayStation consoles. They say they like that better. I don't know. Is it just because they had it in 360 first and that's why they like it better? Is it just because their hands feel right that way? I don't know. We've all got our preferences, and
I can't think of how I would hold the controller to do the dual stick. Actually, the thing is, I only ever used the one stick. That's right. I guess I've never
controlled the camera
in Breath of the Wild. Well, only two. I guess I generally had my hands on attack buttons. Otherwise, Breath of the Wild does a relatively good job. If you're just locking on and moving, you don't generally need to manipulate the camera that much. So you can just have your hands on the action buttons.
Yeah, but it's the one that I need, switching between the D-pad and the
Why are you messing with the D-pad?
Quick select, the weapon quick selects.
Oh, just pause, man. Just pause to change your weapon.
And the tool quick select.
Press the button that actually stops time and changes it. Oh wait, no, it doesn't stop time, does it? Just run and change it. Don't use the quick select. Just hold the button and then keep pressing Y while running away.
I don't know, the quick select's working for me so far, but anyway, the lock on is kind of weird because you have to hold it down, which I mean I guess makes sense, but it's a little weird. I now have talked to two.
For all Legend of Zelda games, don't you have to hold it anyway for any of them? You don't just tap and lock for any Legend of
The
Zelda
Z
game.
lock, when it was actually the Z trigger, was you push Z and it locks on, and then it stays locked on until you tap it again. But maybe not. I'm not.
That might have been Twilight.
I don't
No,
remember,
because
and I
Twilight
haven't
you had
played
to
them all,
hold.
and I haven't played Skyward Sword either. So I could just be
Wind Waker you
completely
had to
wrong
hold.
about all this stuff because I don't remember all those details necessarily.
Yeah, I don't
Anyway,
know.
I like the Pro Controller. The Pro Controller is good enough. It's not perfect, but it's good enough.
Probably better than trying to use them.
Whether I push square button or plus button or house button or all those, center buttons, I'm still completely lost on what they all do. One of them apparently takes snapshots because I accidentally took a screenshot.
Must be it's the little circle one that you can't really see that does that. I think
it's the square with a circle on it on this side.
Left hand.
Left hand side. But I mean the music and the sound is really good. It is weird seeing some of the conventions of a Legend of Zelda game just not there, right? I mean,
right, like the dungeon structure. I'm guessing you're referring to like some of the dungeon structure.
I haven't even come up to the dungeons yet. I'm off the Great Plateau, but you were talking about the shrines?
No, I mean just like the general structure since every Legend of Zelda game post Ocarina of Time.
Or even pre, really. I mean, as far as where they are. But I mean, things like just finding stuff in the wild, like enemies dropping resources.
Right.
They drop resources, but they're different resources than you're used to dropping. It's more of a Skyrim-esque, but even Skyrim monsters drop money. The whole rupees thing is just kind of weirding me out a little bit. Although I have found if you smash metal boxes, they generally have rupees in them, so it's a little bit better. It's not bad. I can't see anything right now that if I had played that and Horizon in the same year that would have made me choose Legend of Zelda over Horizon for Game of the Year. I'm not seeing it yet. Maybe I will see it eventually, but I'm not seeing it yet.
Yeah. I would really be interested in seeing like some extended universe stuff on this, like canon extended universe, which I know we're never going to get, but which we kind of got a bit from the DLC. But getting a little bit more background on some of these Guardians and their histories and like how it all was before leading up to the events of what happens in the game, like get some of that, I guess, prequel information.
Right.
It's like a novelization or something. I think that'd be cool.
It's possible that we'll see, a manga version.
Yeah.
So there may be something along those lines that again, it's kind of almost expanded universe-esque level stuff, right? It's never going to be truly absorbed or part of it.
Right.
And again, I've gotten past the first story dump, right? So I've gotten, I'm off the Great Plateau, so I've gotten the first story dump. Okay. Okay, yeah. For the most part, there's a short gap in the middle where Legend of Zelda was kind of known for actually having kind of an interesting and intriguing story, but it didn't really in the beginning. And this is kind of like, so far, it's like, okay, so you cheated the prophecy. Okay, sure, whatever. Anyway, so I'll keep playing it. I don't know how long it'll take me to get through the whole thing, and that'll probably be a detriment because I won't have that dedicated time to just get into mastering the systems. Keegan taught me about Flurry Rush, which I have since learned at least 2 people played all the way through the game and the DLC without knowing that existed. At least if they're not just completely buffaloing me, which I don't put it past them that they would be, but they said they were being serious, so take them at their word.
Yeah, actually, I found out about Flurry Rush before Keegan did. He might have, because it's
I don't know which one of you got it first or figured it out first. He said he thought it was in one of the hint cards somewhere.
Yeah, I think it wasn't one of the hint cards. I don't know which one of us saw the hint card first, but
yeah, the hint cards actually hold useful information that the game completely fails to tell you.
Shield surfing is a pain in the butt. I had to Google to figure out how to do it. It's just like, because there's certain things that, like, there was a challenge or something, or like a shrine that wanted me to do it, and it's just like, okay, wait, they never taught me what? And it's weird. You have to hold the lock on button, so you have your guard, you have your shield up. You have to jump, and then you have to shake the controller?
Something like that. Yeah, I haven't tried it yet. Even just shield bash. I mean, they kind of tell you shield bash, but they don't really tell you what it can do or why to do it. Bash. Yeah, that's how you do the reflect.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. I forgot about that.
Sorry about that. Again, with the door open, you can talk for a while.
Okay. Do you want me to? I don't know what to talk about.
All right. Well, just fill dead air. Basically, that's all I needed you. He stopped for the moment. So,
hey, dog. Bad dogs. Well, while he's dealing with pupper difficulties. Meanwhile, I've got my own background noise.
Yeah, neither of us are very good status for that right now. So Breath of the Wild. Not saying it's a bad game. Just I don't necessarily feel at the moment that it's all the super chips and crackers that it was made out to be last year. But again, I'm still fairly early on, so we'll see where that goes.
I'll say I probably have to agree with you on your decision that I played them relatively close together, and I think overall I probably would have preferred Horizon over the two of them, story-wise and just mechanic-wise. I think I preferred Horizon, but
having a two trigger system to shoot a bow as opposed to a one trigger system, that's a weird thing to get you to, is a single trigger system for a bow.
Yeah.
After training myself for aim and shoot for so long, now it's like, oh, it's all one, but how do I get out of it? I don't want to shoot that arrow anymore. How do I get out of this?
You
attack with your melee weapon. Yeah. But, but it's I have to think about it, right? I'm like, okay, I don't want to shoot this arrow because arrows are rare and precious. What do I do now?
Well, Keegan doesn't have that problem. I don't know how he avoids having a low arrow issue. I'm always like, I need arrows. Crud.
He probably just spends all of his rupees on them at the Beatles store.
That's how I get most of them. Actually, we both have that little town that you get access to eventually after you buy a house.
Okay. Yeah, no idea what you're talking about, but sure. But yeah. I got my first horse. I named it horse number 1 because I have no emotional attachment to it. Apparently it likes me because I freed it from a bokoblin.
Oh, you took a bokoblin horse. Yeah, well, no, those horses aren't very good most of the time.
I didn't say it was. That's why it's named horse number 1. I almost named it Roach, but then I would have to name all my horses Roach, and it would be very confusing.
You could do different variations of the spelling of Roach. You could do R-O-H-C-H. You could do R-O-U-C-H. You could do R-O-C-H-E.
I could, but then I wouldn't remember which one was which. So it'd still have to be Roach number 1, Roach number 2, Roach number 3. By the way, if you're wondering, is the name of the horse in the Witcher games. And it's still not entirely clear to me whether or not it's the same horse or he just names all his horses Roach. I think it's the latter, but I'm not entirely sure.
Okay, so also... tips. Crud, when I'm home this weekend, I'll tell you where to get the good horses.
Well, you get the good horse by using the amiibo, but...
Well, you can get that good horse, but you can get my horse, my favorite horse. Horse of death and destruction.
Shadow Link's horse?
No, it's actually, I named him Ganondorf because it's... No, what did I name him? I didn't name him that. What did I name him? Hades. I named him Hades.
Oh dear.
That's right.
All right.
Well, yeah. I'll stop spoiling things. All right, your turn. Keep going.
Just chill. All right. So, TV shows wise, for the most part, I'm gonna burn through this list because I've talked about them before. I'm still watching The Magician season 2. I finished Lost in Space. I enjoyed it. It's not fantastic. It's not the second coming, but it's a very enjoyable ride. Solid, well-constructed episodes. Looks great. I like the twist on Robot. The kid actors are actually kids and are actually good at what they do. The Judy, the oldest, is actually like 24, but I could never really clear on how old she was supposed to be in the show.
I think she was about to be at least 2021-ish.
No, 18. She does say, because there's I think it's Dawn makes some crack about how young she is, and she snaps back with 18.
Yeah, you're right.
So she's 18. So, but I mean, that's pretty close.
Yeah.
And there were times where she looked younger and looked older. I just depended on how they were doing the makeup or the angle of the shot. So it was really hard for me to nail down exactly how old she was supposed to be. But they did clear that up. But yeah, I enjoyed it. Did you finish?
Yeah, I finished it, and they definitely left it open for season 2. Which
yeah, there's a huge setup there. If they don't do a season 2, that's going to leave that all hanging. Yeah,
I enjoy Robinson.
And that's a carryover from the original 1950s TV show Lost in Space.
Which they have on Netflix too.
Oh, do they really? I hadn't seen that.
Yeah. Oh, I seen it in because you watch Lost in Space. Lost in Space.
Check some of those out just to kind of see what it was. It was actually at the time more popular than Star Trek, ratings wise. It was definitely a family show too. Not that Star Trek wasn't, but it was definitely aimed as a family show. Irwin, that's his first name. So Michael Irwin? I don't know. Anyway, he actually has a credit as created by in the new Lost in Space, because he created the original Lost in Space. And he was actually credited in the new Lost in Space as the creator. So, or concept by or something like that. So yeah, but he did a lot of shows in that era. And Bill Mumy, who plays Will Robinson, actually has had a fairly, not amazing, but a fairly good career in sci-fi acting from that. Yeah, the one thing you will know is I didn't even realize Don was Don until like episode 6, when we literally said his name like out loud, introducing himself to someone, like, holy crap, that's Don, because he's completely different in the original series and in the 1992-ish movie. Maybe it's 97.
Dawn is arguably my favorite character. Honestly, I can't.
Yeah, say. I know. That's why I wanted to know if you'd finished it. Anyway. But yeah, I didn't even realize it was him, because the character is a completely different person. But I enjoyed this iteration of it as well. Smith is significantly different. The robot's significantly different. The dad is significantly different, and Don is significantly different, all to varying degrees. I say significantly as in they all have significant differences about them, but they're significantly different in different ways.
Are the kids are basically the
same?
I was just about to ask about what you just answered the question. So
kids are roughly this. I mean, it's modernized and it's more, stuff. It's less, campy type stuff, but essentially they're the same. So I'm also been catching up. I'm not quite caught up on season 3 of Shadowhunters. I don't know if you've been watching that at all. I don't remember if you've been watching it at all or not. I know you've read most, if not all, of the books it's based on. And he can't respond because he has background noise.
I'm on the last book right now. I need to get through it. I want to get through it. College is a pain.
Yeah, I understand. So anyway, I know you've seen some random episodes, but I don't think you've ever dedicated time to watching the series.
Yeah, I haven't dedicated time to watching it partially because I've read the books, and that just makes me kind of wary, because knowing me, I'm going to get hypercritical, and I'm going to be like, when I was sitting down and watching some of the episodes with you, I'll be like, no, what? No. What? No. What?
Well, that's actually what I'm interested in doing, is rebaselining with you against the books and see where they're going aligns with that. They've completely given up on making the actors look like they're teenagers anymore. They've just completely given up on that. Okay, these guys are like 28. We don't care anymore. Whatever.
From what you last told me, it seemed like they were starting to align more with the books, from what I remember, from towards the end of season 2. What I remember
there's a very
seeing.
interesting development. There's a very interesting development. I know from where we talked about the things that lined up, there's been a very interesting development. I have to see if it's in line with or not. I don't want to because significant spoilers.
Right.
But yeah, there's actually 2 elements I'm curious about, because one of them I think is, and one of them I think isn't necessarily the way the book did it. So I've been keeping up with Krypton. Obviously that's got an episode tonight. I'm not watching it right now. I might watch it after we're done. I'm actually really enjoying Krypton. I laughed at the concept. I'm probably laughed on this podcast when this announcement came out that they were going to do this show. But I'm actually really enjoying it. It's, Kandor the city on Krypton is not a thing that, again, not a Superman lore hound. I didn't even buy Action Comics 1000 because, I don't buy DC Comics. And the store didn't have a copy when I went there. It's an intriguing take on it. I can see where it comes up. We've had the war-torn Krypton of Smallville. We've had the kind of idyllic Krypton presented a couple of times in the comics. We've got the political intrigue version of Krypton from Supergirl. And this is kind of all of them mashed into one thing. They've done really well with it, I think, so far. And it's introduced a plot thread that I didn't see coming. But again, it's just one of those shows I don't have a lot vested in, so I can just kind of sit back and let it take me where it's going to go. And some will say it's Krypton Game of Thrones. Yeah, it kind of is. Yeah, it kind of isn't. But yeah, it's a serious take on it. It's not all happy and fun and wonderful. Krypton is a very, very, very dark planet, literally dark, not just like emotionally, but literally dark. Apparently the special effects budget didn't cover a sun. So that's been a fun thing to watch. Also started back up season 3 of The Expanse. If you have not watched The Expanse, I need to find a way to get you to watch The Expanse.
Is it on Netflix?
It is not, unfortunately. It is true science fiction. It is real, honest to God, no kidding science fiction, not science fantasy like Star Wars, not whatever you want to call Star Trek. It is like my type of what I read. It's like what I read growing up, Isaac Asimov, Ray Bradbury, science fiction.
So it's able to some extent explain its sciences.
Yeah. I mean, there is always a fantastical element, right? I mean, there's things that we don't, there's fantastical elements because that's kind of how it works, but it's all feasible. It's all within the realm of believability.
Right. Like this could potentially actually exist at some point through some interaction of some possibility.
Right. I mean, most of it, there's some things you could argue one way or the other, but whatever.
Hard to do.
It's set in a world that feels real. And that is an element that a lot of science fiction misses into the fantasy element of it. And this is something that it really has something to say. It has a way to entertain. It has great characters, and it has a realistic, I mean, you don't get realistic space travel very often and still keep things that are interesting. This has realistic, interesting space travel. Yes, there is sound in space because battles in space without sound are very boring. So we'll forgive it that. But the only other time that I can think of that I've seen realistic combat at this level would be Babylon 5, which is another series you haven't seen, which might be on Netflix. You have to look into that. As far as I know, for streaming, the only place that has The Expanse season 1 and 2, I believe, is Amazon. So therein lies the challenge.
Right.
But it is an excellent show. I've also been watching season 2 of Legion. You're familiar with the base premise of who Legion is, right?
He's Xavier's kid, right?
Yep. Super
telepath, but every time he connects with reads someone's mind, it creates a new alter in his DID.
Yeah, he's very powerful, very crazy. That's the comic book version. The TV version is different.
Right.
But
hard to tell what his psychoses versus what's actually happening.
Yeah,
from what you said last time when you talked about it.
Season 1 was weird, but it was weird in a way that I worked with, and you thought you might get some answers, and that kind of strung me along a little bit. Season 2 is weird to the weird power of weird.
Oh my.
And I've given up on the fact that they're ever going to explain anything. So it's one of those, come up with your own rationale for why things are the way they are. And that's probably the only answer you're ever going to get. So I don't want to get spoilery even for season 1, because I know a lot of people haven't seen season 1 yet.
Right.
It's a good show. I enjoyed season 1 immensely. Season 2, I'm struggling a little bit with, just because of the ridiculously over the top weirdness that they're going for. And the pacing of the last episode I watched I didn't like it. I'm sure there is some artistic style that says that was like the most perfect pacing of an episode to ever be done. Didn't work for me. It's not enough to make me stop watching the show, but it was just really weird. But I've come to the belief, and I don't think that this is a spoiler, this is my own personal belief, is that we are experiencing the world as David sees it. Therefore, all of the things that are weird are just a part of his psychoses. It's much like Senua Hellblade, right? The things you see are from her perspective. So you're never quite really sure what's really there and what's just she seeing through her illness. I think we can say the same for Legion, is we're seeing the world through David's perspective, and whether or not that's what's really going on between his powers and his psychological issues, that's how he sees it. And that way, whenever he says something weird, the people around him just kind of look weird at him and go, yeah, sure, whatever. But not... Yeah, we'll see. Season 2 is not really doing it for me, but we'll see where it ends up. We did manage to watch another episode of Supernatural. We're up to like episode 4 of last season. So slowly chipping away at that. After a break away from it, I'm not feeling it as much as I was when we were watching it. Bam, 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 just keep on watching them. And I don't know if that's just the episodes aren't really making it work, or if that's just a not in the groove of it. But as slowly as we're watching it, we'll get it done sometime by the time I'm 80. And then, and all of that stuff I would say is worth your time to at least check out. Those are all things I've enjoyed. This is a thing I did not enjoy. This gets a big old capital no. I was looking for something to just have on while I do some of my exercising. And I usually prefer half-hour type episodes there, because it just works better for what I'm doing. And so I tried out one of the things that I tried out for that was a show called Whack Fu.
Oh, God, the animation on that is really weird.
It is very weird. I believe it's European. I think I determined it's like French, I think, is where it was developed. And that explains the art style, which is fine.
Because I know what you're talking about. I tried watching an episode like my junior or senior year, somewhere in there, or during the summer or something, and I couldn't even get through like the beginning of like the first episode because the anime style was just and the voice acting was something else.
That's what ultimately got me. I mean, one, it's kind of the goofy kid anime, so it's like a European take on a goofy kid anime, right? And I think it's probably been localized, I'm guessing, and just not done well.
Right.
Yeah, it didn't land. It really didn't. I mean, if you want to, I can't say don't watch it, right? If you look it up and think it's something interesting, I thought it looked interesting. The trailer did a good job of selling it. And yeah, a few minutes into the first episode, I'm like, this is not what I thought I was signing up for. So maybe it gets better later on. I don't know, but I'm not going to give it that chance to find out. And in that attempt also, something else I did enjoy was I watched episode 1 of Continuum, which I think I've watched like 3 times now because I keep starting this and then not keeping on with it. And decided that's going to be my next elliptical show after I finish Magicians. So that's where that'll go. And that's 4 seasons. So that'll take me a while to get through.
I've seen that around on Netflix. I haven't actually looked at it, but
that's on Netflix. It's a time travel sci-fi show. It's not time travel like Doctor Who. It's like time travel trapped in the past, time travel. But their past is our present, right? So they're from the future, trapped back in our present day, type thing. So it's a cop time travel show. There have been many of those over the years.
There's a reverse time travel one with magic.
So I've only watched episode 1. I've watched it like 4 or 5 times. It seems like it's going to be a good show. I can't, like I said, there's 4 seasons and I've only ever watched episode 1 of season 1. So I'm going to be watching it while I'm on the elliptical because it seems like that type of show that works with that activity. Mm-hmm. And it's the right time. That's a huge part, is getting a show that's the right time to line everything up. That's the duration, runtime. I mean, so I am finally done after way too long of talking. I mean, we had some conversation in there, but that was not that long of a list. It shouldn't have taken me that long to get through that. All right, go. I will try not to commentate too much.
All right. So mobile games, I've got Fire Emblem Heroes, Final Fantasy Record Keeper, Final Fantasy Opera Omnia, a Tekken mobile game, and Fate Grand Order, and that's about it.
So is that tied into the Fate show?
Yeah, it's tied into it. Well, it's not connected to it. That's the weird thing about Fate. This one is completely isolated. The others are kind of connected, except for Apocrypha. Apocrypha's its own thing. I'm not sure how it all connects. Overall, Fate is a very confusing thing because it's timelines and it's based around graphic visual novels. The computer visual novels, similar like Doki Doki Literature Club, just without Doki Doki Literature Club.
Yeah.
But this one isn't really. It's sort of like the visual novel, but it's also mashed with like a sort of combat system based around the servants, which I won't get into too much because that's confusing and stuff.
So, but is it good? I mean,
I like it.
Is it the same type of game like Brave Exvius or not? Opera Omnia and Record Keeper and that kind. And what's your the other one? The
Fire Emblem Heroes?
Yeah, Fire Emblem. Thank you.
Fire Emblem Heroes is more similar to it does character draws for your servants. So you have the gacha system for which servants you have access to. And there's different rarities and tiers of servants that you get access to depending on your luck from your draw system. But the combat system is sort of similar to Opera Omnia, where you have like a stage and then you go into that stage and then you have like your little list of missions, but just still kind of different. But then you go in and then you get these, it's actually kind of card based, but not really, is you have these 6-ish, I don't know the exact number, like cards that pop up, which can either be arts, buster, or speed or tech or something like that. I think it's speed. And then it has each of your 3 different servants that you're using at that time for different of those cards. So then you have to match them for certain different types of combos and stuff. It's hard to explain really, but
that's okay. I mean, but you play those types of games and you enjoy this one same level as the Fire Emblem, or
Well,
Ish.
problem here is it stays true to the SSRPG part of it, so that it's kind of different. But it's closest probably to Opera Omnia because it has its own overarching story, like Opera Omnia. So they're more similar. Yeah, I
Better
like
version,
them.
equivalent.
I prefer Opera Omnia, but Grand Order isn't bad either. So
All right, cool.
all right, that's it for that. So then, for what I've been watching, I've got oh god, I lost it. Lost in Space. I finished that. Um, and also I watched Violet Evergarden. I can't remember if I talked about that last time or not because I think it came out like right after the last podcast I was on.
Yeah, it's a relatively recent drop, so I don't think you did.
Which I enjoyed immensely. I got through it, and I enjoyed that one a lot. As I said before, Netflix has been doing a really good job with its anime production, or at least in cooperation with whoever's been making the different animes. But it's been really good. It was really good. It's not as actiony as the others. It's much more uh philosophical, I guess. It's much more leaning more towards the like slice of life genre, if you know what that means,
Yeah.
with some sort of like some fantastical elements. Not really fantastical, but more non-realistic elements. Like she has full working prosthetics.
Right.
The main character. Um, and yeah, and the character development throughout it is really good because the main character is essentially the equivalent of like the child soldier, someone who was raised to be a soldier and only a tool for war.
Mm.
And eventually, this story comes out where there is no more war to fight, and she's just left without her commander, who was the one who used to take care of her, and all she knew really was how to follow orders. So now the story is about her trying to find her way through how to be like everyone else and to understand what it means to be a person, really.
So the nature of humanity introspective genre.
Kinda, yeah. I would really recommend it. Even if you're more of an action anime fan, I would recommend watching it.
Cool. I've got
And
a very
then
long list of anime between you and Keegan that I'm supposed to watch. So hopefully this all stays on streaming till like I'm 75 and I can just sit down and watch it all.
right. And then also two things that I have been waiting for a long time have finally started up. Season 3 of My Hero Academia and Season 3 of Tokyo Ghoul have both launched, and thanks to a good friend of mine, I have the capability to watch them.
Cool.
As they come out, kind of. I think it's a week delay between when they get uploaded to the website and when they actually air, but it works for me.
Yeah. I've seen some rumblings about season 3 of My Hero or
Which,
no, whatever you
yeah,
call it.
I generally call it Boku no Hero Academia, but that's just a bit of a mouthful. I was trying to keep it short.
Have you looked at
Hmm?
game tie-in at all?
Yes, I've watched the trailers and I've looked up some like gameplay stuff for what was available, and there is I could go into like which characters I hope that they add in addition to who they already have on the roster, or at least who I'd kind of half expect them to put in. But I won't because no
watching
one would.
opera in your apartment.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I could go into who I think they should add in addition to, but I think their roster, what they have so far, is pretty good, and I think it'll be really interesting. And honestly, once it comes out, I would love to get it, even though I don't have access to a console currently. But hey, that's what the summer is for. And then I can have another fighting game to beat Keegan at.
And it's a 3D brawl fight kind of game,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, that's what it looks like. It's actually a really interactive environment, actually, from what I saw in the trailers and stuff. So it's generally a small square arena, but then there's also the buildings, and there's actually small scenes in like the trailer and stuff, and some gameplay stuff that I've seen, where they actually start doing combat on the side of the building. And the environment is, at least to some extent, destroyable. So what you do in the battle actually has an effect on the battlefield and arena that you're fighting on.
Is this published by Bandai Namco?
I believe so.
Do you know the developer?
No, I
I'm
did.
wondering, is this done by the same guys that do the Naruto games, or is it, are they?
I don't know. I know it's Bandai Namco because that's who did the Facebook posts for the trailers and stuff, was Bandai.
What's it called too? Because it's not called.
My Heroes One Justice. I'm 90% sure that's it.
Yeah, that's One Justice sounds right, which is kind of weird, but
yeah. But while you're looking that up, I guess we'll go into who I hope they add into the roster, at least from Class 1A. Or actually, I'll even throw in at least one 2A character, because it would be interesting to see them throw her in there. But I would expect them to put in Fumikage Takoyami, I think that's his name, who is the Dark Shadow quirk, who has the bird for a face. Who has a bird head for a face, but and then the other one I would expect would be Red Riot or Kirishima, where his quirk is he can harden his body. So I'd see him being kind of an offensive/defensive tank brawler type character. And then the one from 2A that I think would be interesting to see them add would be I don't know the character's actual name, but I believe she's the class president for 2A, and her quirk is she can make her hands like really big and giant, so she can make like giant fists and stuff. And I think that'd be an interesting mechanic to see. I'm not sure how they're gonna do Ochako though, with her, since her quirk is zero gravity. She's probably gonna be the most technical character besides maybe Aizawa that I've seen. That they've released. And then there's probably a couple of villains from season 3 that they'll put in. But I won't say any of the names or any of their quirks, just for people who haven't seen what's been out of season 3 yet, to protect some of that for spoilers and stuff. But one character I was kind of surprised that they put in there was Denki Kaminari, who is the electric quirk. And it's just, he wasn't expected them to be put in there, which I think he'll be an interesting one to see, especially since his quirk has a really interesting drawback, because once he reaches his wattage output maximum, he turns into a potato.
So who was this? I'm sorry.
Denki Kaminari. He can output a bunch of electricity. His quirk is electricity, but pretty much once he's out of electricity and reaches his maximum wattage, literally the biggest capacity that we've seen him at is pretty much like blank-faced, drooling, and going like, because they won, and he's just like,
okay. I'm just trying to find out something about this developer, because the company that's being said is the developer for it, and the biography I'm seeing of the developer, which is called By King, don't seem to align at all, other than they have developed a couple of anime-based games before, but
Hmm.
maybe it is. But anyway, I was on the site, and apparently, I don't know how new this is, but there was one posted as a new character. So I don't know if you've seen this one, but Tomura Shigaraki,
Shigaraki.
dude with a hand
No.
on his face.
Okay, yep. He was in one of the later trailers.
Okay,
He's
he's just marked as new on here, so I wasn't sure how new was new.
Yeah, with his is gonna be another one that's kind of hard to do with his quirk.
'Cause he's a villain, right?
Yeah, he's a villain, which is why I know they're doing some villains, because some of the villains that they have announced are Shigaraki. I think they released Nomu. I'm not sure about that.
Faced Stain. According to this,
Okay.
the official site, Stain is the only other villain.
Stain and okay, yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if they put in Nomu, but Nomu was kind of like a one-shot character. Well, to an extent, without saying too much. But there's definitely at least 2 other villains. I could see 3 maybe that I could see them adding at a minimum, potentially, that they could add in. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And if I have, if it's I don't know, do they have a release date for it yet, or?
The site I'm currently on is in Japanese, so I don't know. Let me fact checking squad on the case. Now if I could just remember one's justice release date. I didn't see one when I saw this first get announced. That said, I've only watched a bit of the show, so I know enough about it to just be kind of dangerous to recognize some things, but I know no characters' names or anything. No date has been announced, but it's supposed to be sometime in 2018. Hello? Oh, he's on mute.
That's my bad. Yeah, I was saying so. Either Christmas or birthday. Hint, hint, poke, poke, nudge, nudge, wink, wink.
Yeah, all the nudges, all the winks. All right. So, anything else you played?
I've watched all of Ancient Magus Bride, which is a really good anime. It's hard to remember everything. But yeah, I've watched a number of anime. I can't. Actually, it's not that many. Only like. Yeah, too hard to think of. I can't remember. But yeah, anime's good stuff.
All right. So, well, we have a couple things I want to talk about up front, and then we have a small amount of news.
Then the only other thing I've done is Smite, but.
Oh, you played some Smite. Cool.
Yep, just trying to keep up before they release their new character.
Nice. I'll someday maybe learn to appreciate those types of games, but probably not.
Yeah, probably just like I'll never be able to appreciate PUBG or Fortnite. I won't be able to. I
can't appreciate those either. So, you know, apparently I'm nowhere near as well-rounded as a gamer as I'd like to think I am. But anyway, so the first thing is we are on New Avengers movie Eve. Tomorrow, the first official showings of it that haven't been previewings will be viewed. I will be on internet hiatus for the next few days because, as I said earlier, I'm not seeing it till Sunday. So, yeah, that's going to be interesting dodging that world.
You're going to be staying off Facebook.
Yeah, because that's where the worst of it will most of that. Facebook, Twitter, just stay away.
Yep, just going to stay off there.
Yeah.
Nope.
Or anything on the internet. Can't even look at news pages because you'll see the entertainment section and they'll say something stupid that'll piss me off. So, do you have any thoughts or any expectations, any predictions that you want to bring up about your about the movie, or just
Um,
what does it mean to you? I mean, this movie's been 10 years in the making. This is over half your lifetime that there have
wow.
been Marvel movies since Iron Man. Over half of your lifetime, you've had quality superhero entertainment. You don't understand. You
Yeah,
don't even know, man.
it's it's gonna be interesting to see what the climax of this overarching story is gonna be. Because I mean, that's what this is. This is the climax of this arc, so to speak. But honestly, I think it's gonna be really interesting to see what they do with it, especially with the cast that they're gonna have and how they're gonna balance all of it. Because this is a huge cast. This is
Probably the first of the Marvel movies that you can't go into without having seen something previously.
yeah. This is probably the hardest. This would probably be the one that would be almost impossible, or at least it's definitely going to be the hardest to just go into. This would be a terrible starting point.
Yeah, I
Because
would.
as I said, this is the climax. This is the end of the story arc, so to
Right.
speak.
I was trying to think of what's the mandatory, what is the minimum required movies you'd have to watch before this for this to make any sense to you whatsoever.
Guardians of the Galaxy, Avengers. I mean, not well. Avengers probably the first one, just
Yeah,
to kind of see how that. Um, Probably both the Thors.
there's
Hell,
three of
all
them.
three Thors.
Well, you could maybe skip the first Thor other than for the exposition of the character.
Right, or the access for the cube because the cube's one, right?
Not in one.
The tester?
No,
No,
not in one.
that's not in one.
If
Okay,
it is,
but
it's at the very end, but I don't think so. I don't think they don't get the okay, spoilers for movies that have been coming out over the last 10 years. I don't think Thor gets his hand on the Tesseract until the end of Avengers when he uses it to take Loki back to Asgard.
okay, but yeah, definitely Avengers. Then at least Thor 2 because that has the Aether,
So basically all the movies that have some tie to an infinity object, right?
right? And yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy, Avengers, Thor 2,
So would you
Black
say
Panther.
Captain America? Would you say Captain America: The First Avenger? Because that's the original movie with the Tesseract in it.
Yeah, probably. It's probably not as important as Civil War is. I would definitely say Civil War is probably more important because that's the
Yeah, I would.
introducing of like well, three characters.
Yeah, I would say both Winter Soldier and Civil
Civil
War.
War.
So I would say you should see Iron Man just because it's the first one, right? I mean,
Yeah,
just from a historical perspective, and to see that first stinger that is now just such a staple. Back when they only had one stinger,
yeah,
not two or three. Um, Iron Man. You can probably jump to Avengers from there.
yeah. You can probably. I don't know. You go. Keep
Um,
saying.
Winter Soldier, um, Thor 2,
Mm-hmm.
Guardians.
Mm-hmm. You can skip Guardians 2 probably because that doesn't really have much.
Yeah, no, I just say skip Guardians 2. Doctor Strange.
Yep, definitely.
Um,
Black Panther.
Avengers 2, really, as much as I don't like that one, that would actually come before Doctor Strange. Well,
Well, yeah,
timeline is wibbly wobbly through this whole thing, but
yeah.
Avengers 2, probably, because,
Which
well,
one's
you should see all
what's
the
the sub name for Avengers?
Age of Ultron.
Okay, yeah, because that introduces 3
That introduces
characters.
too many things. You'd miss too much by not watching that.
Yeah. Is it
really,
Civil War that introduces Falcon?
No, he's introduced in Winter Soldier.
Oh, well, that's what I meant. Isn't that what I said?
No, you said
I said Civil War. I meant.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think Captain America 2, Captain America 3 are both required. Avengers 1 and Avengers 2 are required. You probably can skip all of Phase 1 except for Avengers 1. You don't have to watch it. They're good, but you don't watch them.
Actually, one that from Phase 1 that you should probably avoid is actually the Hulk movie.
See, I really like the Incredible Hulk.
Well, it is a good movie, but I mean,
because they switch actors. I know
it's completely separated. Almost, it's completely isolated from everything else.
They do tie it in at the end
a little bit,
granted, but they do tie it in. I would say Spider-Man: Homecoming is mandatory viewing just because it's an amazing movie,
and you get some more introduction to Peter, who seems like he's going to be playing a bigger role in this one.
Right. Yeah.
My name is Peter Parker. What's yours? Doctor Strange. Oh, we're using our made-up names. In that case, I'm Spider-Man.
I've seen a couple different cuts of that scene in the trailers now, so it'll be interesting to see what cut of that scene is actually in the movie, if it's even actually in the movie. That's the one thing I hate. You go in there waiting for the scene, and it's never in there. You're like, curse you, trailer editors. So Guardians. So both Avengers, Captain America 2 and 3, Guardians of the Galaxy, Doctor Strange. Is that probably the minimum? Black Panther, but
Black Panther, because there's going to be a large.
It's not on video yet.
Right, but as soon as I would, if you could get a way to watch it somehow.
I'm saying if you wanted to go to this movie this weekend, what is the minimum number of the previous movies that are currently available that you would need to watch?
Right.
Black Panther is important, but it's not currently available.
Right, because Wakanda seems like it's going to play a huge part in the story. So
theories onto why that is, but and then Spider-Man: Homecoming.
Right. That seems like
it's hard to say that you don't need to watch any of the Iron Man movies, but you really don't need to watch any of the Iron Man movies.
Yeah. Just to understand Tony a bit, you might want to watch one at a minimum.
One or three. I mean,
1 or 3.
3 is kind of the breakdown and rebirth. So, you can do that too. But I mean, you get enough of Tony from Avengers and stuff to figure out what he's about.
Yeah.
Right? Again, the Thor movies. Oh yeah. Thor 2. You probably should watch Dark World because that does have an Infinity tie-in.
Yeah.
Thor 3, you should watch.
Just watch 3 because it ties.
Just watch it because it's amazing.
It's amazing, but it also ties into how certain characters end up in situations that lead into.
Yeah, but you could probably skirt that. That's a really minor part.
I know you could skirt it, but I mean, it still feels like it's a connection. So and plus, it's a good movie, so watch it anyway.
Yeah, I like Ant-Man. I would recommend that everyone watch Ant-Man, but you can get what you need to know about Ant-Man from Civil War. So
yeah. Yeah, I would recommend watching that one too, but yeah.
Okay, that was way longer than I meant to spend on this. I have a stinger thing that I want to happen. 0% chance that this will happen, but I have a very stinger thing that I want to happen. There's a lot of guessing that I've heard. Again, I've been very on the periphery of this because I don't want to know anything, but there's been a lot of guessing that there are no stingers, that there's a very specific thing that happens at the end of this movie, and that there are no stingers after it because of what the final scene is.
There is something that reminds me. There's a funny picture that I saw. It's relevant. So there's a part of a credit, I think, in the trailer, where Thanos must say something like, "Which of you are going to die first?" I think, or something along those lines. So then there's this little kind of comic strip, and Drax is like, "Well, I guess technically spoilers in a bit, like." But again, this movie's been out for like 2 years, maybe about. You've had
Guardians.
Time. What's 2? Yeah, Guardians.
Guardians 2. Okay,
Yeah.
spoilers for Guardians 2, which is about a year old. Yeah.
Yeah. Drax says, "Well, Peter's dating your favorite daughter," and then Peter's like, "Dang it." He doesn't say "dang it," but we're keeping this family friendly.
Yeah. Well, yeah. The Thanos Cable being played by the same character has already been, trolled in the Deadpool 2 trailers, so
All right,
but yeah, so I'm expecting a very enjoyable movie. I'm again trying to keep myself as dark on it as possible. I just want to hop in the theater, butter up my popcorn all over my face, and just ride this movie through to its conclusion.
I just realized there's been a character that has been missing in the trailers a bit. It's a certain horned, helmeted god who's been missing. Who often is funny.
He's in there.
He's in there. I must have missed him.
You usually see him with the Tesseract in his hand like this.
Oh yeah, that's right. You get that one.
The person who had a certain archer that has been completely absent in all the marketing material so far.
Right, yeah, he has.
Now, the comic, I didn't get the comic because I did not want to support crappy movie tie-in comics, which this is a very crappy movie tie-in comic. So I didn't buy it, but I have looked at spoiler panels on it. Home to be with his family after the events of, I guess, Avengers 2. I guess Avengers 2, yeah, Civil War, or Captain America Civil War, yeah.
Okay.
So
after we get the creation of the new Avengers.
Yeah, well, that's another. Well, that again. See, how into speculation because it almost feels spoilery. Because if you know stuff about comics, you can make some educated guesses on what they might do. Right. But then doesn't that border into spoiler territory because you're coming from a more educated position? Yeah. And
we should probably stop with our theorizing and actually probably move on to the next thing.
Move on to the next topic. Okay, and that went longer. I just wanted to see if you had something you.
Well, but yeah. I'm just expecting it to be good.
You're just expecting it to be good, and I think we are all in agreement on that. Okay, other thing happened today. So it's very, very, very relevant. But I want to make sure I get this right. Okay, so we've been talking about loot boxes a lot over the last year or so. And the potential of, are they gambling? Are they not gambling? And again, it depends on your definition of gambling. Are you taking a gamble by opening a loot box that you're going to get something that you want? Yes. Using the word that way, you are. Is it gambling in the sense of you are risking money for the benefit of gaining something or potential of losing something? No, it is not gambling in that sense, because no matter what you do, you're going to get something. It's gambling in the same way, putting a quarter in one of those machines where you twist the knob and it drops a little plastic dome container in it with some stupid little toy or something, and it is, did you get the one you wanted or not? I mean, those are OG loot boxes, right? I mean, if you want to talk about it that way.
OG gotcha system.
Yeah, so this is the the almost a UFO game kind of level, but there is some skill to that, so that's a different model. This is the tickets at Chuck E. Cheese, right? I mean, can you get that game to stop at the place that's going to give you the most tickets or not? So again, that's arguable that's skill. So okay, we'll try to separate the skill from the random. But again, the old machines where you put in your quarter, you twist a knob, you get a little thing. Did you get the one you wanted? No, you take another quarter and you try again. That's basically the same thing. Now, here's the problem, because some of these loot boxes you get just for playing the game. Some of them you can buy with in-game currency, and some of them you buy with real money or some combination thereof. Well, Belgium, being the progressive country of Europe that it is, I guess, I don't know. That's probably snarky and unnecessary. Sorry. Has declared that certain games loot boxes are illegal based on their definition of gambling, and they do not provide the protections that must be provided for gambling in an electronic format. So the loot boxes that they have declared is illegal as currently implemented are in FIFA 18, which has to be a huge one for them, right? Because FIFA is huge, like everywhere except the US. That's soccer. You knew that, right?
Yeah. FIFA World Cup.
Yeah.
FIFA.
So FIFA 18, Overwatch, and Counter-Strike Global Offensive. Now I'm not familiar with CS:GO's loot box system at all. I honestly didn't even know it had a loot box system, so I can't really talk to it. Overwatch, I'm guessing because Counter-Strike Global Offensive, it's a huge competitive game.
Okay.
Overwatch, I'm guessing it's because you can pay. I see. Again, I don't know how Overwatches are necessarily different, but again, it's not focused on that it's a game changing, but it's focused on that they don't more, I believe, from what I'm reading in here, they're focused more on the fact that they don't give you the percentages. So like you've got a 10% chance of getting this one and an 80% chance of getting that one and whatever, especially in the specialty ones, I think are
so they don't give you the drop rates is pretty much essentially what they're worried about.
That's part of it. Whatever the way that these ones are being interpreted, the gambling element means there has to be certain protections that are built in and notices that are given to, help keep your gambling habit in check. And those are missing from the games. So it says the loot boxes in these games are in violation of the country's gaming legislation, and thus the companies sell them are subject to criminal punishment, including fines up to 800,000 euros or about $975,000 US dollars and prison sentences. Belgium's Gaming Commission has spent several months reviewing how the loot box worked in games, triggered, of course, by Battlefront 2's microtransaction system, which now, after the mods and the redo, doesn't count as gambling in Belgium. The criteria of the commission used to decide, I am just reading from the Kotaku article here. The criteria the commission used to decide whether the loot boxes constituted gambling were whether the game element, where there was a game element involved, whether a bet could lead to profit or loss, which that's the element I don't know how you prove, and whether or not it was based on chance rather than skill. Okay, the chance I get, game element involved. Okay, it is a game, so I guess that means it's a game element involved, or it involves getting elements for a game. Now, whether a bet could lead to profit or loss, I don't know how you determine profit and loss in a system like Overwatch's, because profit or loss would have to be your personal feeling of whether you profited or lost.
Yeah, because most of the stuff in Overwatch is cosmetic, or it's
all cosmetic.
Gold. Yeah, pretty much. And the only thing that's not cosmetic is the currency that you get to buy specific cosmetics for whichever by your own choice.
Right. That's okay. So maybe that is the element that the currency part is the element that fits that. Then maybe I don't know. But again, to me, loot boxes have never, even when they cost, even if you spend real money to get them, they've never met the definition for gambling, because there's never a chance to lose. You always walk away with something. You may not like what you walk away with, but I mean,
you still get your consolation prize pretty much.
Right. But this would mean like everything, like those little vinyl characters you get in a blind draw box are now gambling according, to this kind of definition, because you might not get the one you want. Therefore you have lost.
Yeah. I don't know. That just seems kind of. It just seems. I don't know. It's hard to measure that kind of thing, really, because I mean, yeah, sure, it's a gamble in the sense like you don't know exactly what you're gonna get, but you're gonna get something. You're guaranteed a win, as it were.
You're guaranteed an item. With the difference. I mean, true gambling, at least by my understanding of that definition, by my personal feelings on it, means you have to be able to walk away with nothing or less than you started with.
I'm gonna look up a legal definition of gambling quick, if there's something like that.
Now they are saying, the Belgian government, the Gaming Commission is saying that they don't want to take legal action at this time. They just want to start a dialogue with the companies of these games to, to figure out how they want to manage this. So they're not like threatening international lawsuits or, extraditions or some such thing yet at this point. Now, how do you make this work, right? I mean, is this going to have to become like Netflix where you can only watch some shows in certain regions and not in others because there's some sort of restriction that says, oh, loot boxes are sellable in the US, but not sellable in Belgium. So they're going to have to, and then there's going to be IP spoofing. And how do you do that? Or do they just have to build these protections into the thing that shows the drop rates and the other stuff that would make it legal gambling within Belgium? My guess that'll be the first move. And that, I believe, is it China or Korea or maybe both that do that already, that any game there that has drop box or loot box type mechanics has to show the rates, the drop rates on all of the items that are obtainable through those things. So my guess is that'll be the first step. Whether that'll be the end of it or not, I don't know, but that's my thought.
All right. So under U.S. law, a person engages in gambling if he stakes or risks something of value upon the outcome of a contest of chance or a future contingent event not under his control or influence, upon an agreement or understanding that he or someone else will receive something of value in the event of a certain outcome.
Well, I think the line there that does not meet that requirement, again, this is U.S. code.
Right.
The line there that does not meet the criteria is that he or someone else.
Right.
They're using he, gender, understand, whatever. But in the instance, the person who is engaging in always be the person who walks away with product.
Right. But then again, under like dictionary definition, there's play games of chance for money bet, which is what is generally what we consider gambling. But then there's also the second definition, which is take risky action in hope of a desired result.
Right. And that's
kind of more along the...
That's right. That was kind of the first definition I used, right? You are taking a gamble that you're going to get what you want, but that's not gambling.
Yeah. That is generally considered.
It's gambling the verb, not gambling the noun. Well, I guess that's not even true, right? Either. It's
right.
Yeah, it's not the one where you go home completely broke.
Gambling.
It's not the kind where casinos sue you because you owe them so much money.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're never going to get a bill for more than what you intended to spend from Overwatch.
Yeah. Well, unless you are a very, very, very bad person who overdrafted your card to get Overwatch loot boxes.
Well, then the card company is going to come after you then, not Overwatch.
Yeah.
So anyway, this is an interesting thing. It'll be interesting to see how this pans out, especially if this is now going to be a country by country decision. This is going to get very, very complicated very quick.
Especially it depends on if it'll go to the UN or not, because...
Oh, yes, did I? So, sorry, UN people. So anyway, that's a thing, and that happened. So somebody's fired the first shot, and I guess we'll see how the war goes. Yeah. So Nintendo Labo, you are familiar with the concept of this critter?
Yes. Cardboard.
So you get a bunch of cardboard things, and you build them all a papercraft kit, and then you stick parts of your Switch in it, and it does things.
Yep.
It's launched, it's out there now, to generally positive, nothing like, oh my God, this completely changes the game forever, but generally positive, it seems like. Again, I've seen a couple of folks posting articles with trying to use this with actual children instead of young adults and adults playing this thing. And it doesn't seem to go as well with children, especially the building part. Most of the kits take way too long and they just don't have the patience for it. I could just go jump into this game and be playing right now. Why do I have to build this stupid cardboard thing? So there's that element and that, but it seems like it's reviewing fairly well. Most of the kits are okay or pretty decent. But one of the elements that I was always concerned about, especially if you are trying to do this with children, even if you stay within the recommended ages, which are over 5, I believe, is it 7, maybe even, I don't remember exactly off the top of my head, but is the destruction of parts. Like I've made papercraft or metalcraft stuff before where you fold one thing the wrong way and it never goes right. It never goes back together right. You make one mistake in it and the piece is basically just never going to work properly after that. That's why Artuguito's little foot thing is taped on up here and it's still popping off. You know, and then just in playing, you know, it's cardboard. I mean, it's fairly sturdy cardboard from what I understand. I have not touched it, but it's still cardboard. You're not, you know, you spill your drink on it and it's going to probably not ever work right. Pray that your Switch isn't actually in it and gets covered in whatever your drink is. But you know, it's yeah. So, but Nintendo will be selling replacement parts for the Labo kits. That's the short part of this long explanation. So if you lose or damage or something happens to one of your Labo parts, you're able to buy it replacement piece. The pieces are pretty affordable. A couple bucks to $15. So $2 to $13.99 is the current price range for the kits that are currently available. So good on them. It's good on them for doing that. Because I was really wondering how they were going to deal with that. Have you watched the Venom trailer?
No, I bet I was meaning to and I forgot. But they actually showed Venom this time.
Yeah, this time they actually show that they actually show a symbiote covered Eddie Brock. They pronounce symbiote weird in the trailer. It's not wrong. It is a valid pronunciation of the word, and they're probably doing it to distinguish it from something else they thought they needed to distinguish it from, but it's very jarring when you hear them say it. It's very different from those of us who grew up with Venom and the genesis of Venom and how he's tied into Spider-Man lore and how he's connected to Eddie Brock. It's very different. There's some, I'm not saying it's not going to work. I think I said that right. I can't say that it's not going to work. It's just very different. And so some of that shock value still is a little hard to get past for someone like myself.
Right. Is this pre or post paralysis?
Eddie's never paralyzed. You're thinking of Flash. You're thinking of Flash Thompson. And he's actually not paralyzed. He just loses his lower legs. Yeah, it's a comic book mix up in there. Sorry. There have been several hosts to the Venom symbiote in the comics. So we got a little confusion there, but Eddie Brock, currently not the host of the Venom symbiote in the comics either. But it is the original host of Venom, not the original host of the symbiote in the comic books. Right. So it's interesting. I kind of like the look of the suit of the full on monster suit. I kind of like the way the effects are done. I think that is good. I'm enjoying that so far.
Is this Venom the more full size brutish, or is it more Carnage's size?
It looks more like original Venom size, because you remember Eddie maybe you don't, but Eddie was fairly big guy, right? Yeah. So Venom kind of
linebacker, right?
Well, again, no, you're mixing that up.
I'm confused. Oh my gosh!
But I mean, he's a big guy. You know, you saw you saw him doing weights and stuff. I mean, he was a reporter. He's an investigative reporter. You know, he's kind of a tough guy. He had a mullet because all the tough guys in that time period had a mullet. But it's big. It's not. He's and I'm totally forgetting the name of the guy who plays Eddie in the movie right now. But I don't know. Anyway, Tom Hardy is a pretty big guy. He's not huge, but he's a pretty big guy. And the symbiote, what we see of it, looks pretty much like it bulks on top of him. So it's pretty good size. not the ridiculously oversized huge Venom that we've seen, in different iterations, because sometimes it's just ridiculously huge, right? So it's not the big gorilla
Right.
Hulk size version, but
So not from like
it's
Ultimate Spider-Man game, but yeah, this Tom Hardy guy definitely decent sized fellow.
Yeah, so I mean
Very muscular.
it's pretty good size. I like the look of it. I like how they did the eyes. I'm not 100% sold on the mouth at the moment, but again, you don't see enough of it in motion to really know. Yeah, so there's absolutely zero Spider-Man connection that we see.
That's gonna be odd.
Eddie is personality-wise completely different. He's actually more similar to Flash than the Eddie Brock from the comics. The original Eddie now is different than Eddie originally when he got the symbiote. But it's a very different dynamic. The movie seems to be like it's going to be a lot more lighthearted than I was anticipating, which seems weird for a Venom movie.
Yeah, Venom seems like it'd be a very dark movie.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to, Lethal Protector even would be dark by comparison. So I'm not sure. I'm not ready to write it off yet. I'm going to see it because I'm a Spider-Man guy and I got to go see a Venom movie. But check out the trailer. Let us know what you think and what you are expecting. Again, this is just the first trailer, right? I mean, it's the first full trailer, so there's going to be a lot more to come on this.
The question is, since they're opening up the entire symbiote bottle, how far are they willing to go?
How far is this genie gonna go? So yeah, we'll see. We don't know. We'll have to see where this ends up. April,
big worms.
Yeah, that will be a dark movie. It has to be. They can't get around that if they go down that path. So it's April, and this means Xbox One's family of systems, because you kind of have to say it that way now because there's like 3 of them, is getting the newest batch of features pushed out. There's not a lot in there that I thought was super great stuff. It seems to be there. A lot of people, or a good number of people, apparently are hooking up their gaming monitors to their Xbox rather than their TV. So there's a lot of gaming monitor stuff support, G-Sync, different refresh modes, and then things of that nature. There's some new streaming options in there for stuff. So it seems like it's mostly based around visual stuff with different displays, and streaming options are what the majority of the things that seem to be in there are for. So
I wonder if they'll let them buy the idea of using a capture card, depending on how they do that.
No, this is actually all integrated with their own streaming service now, which I wasn't going to mention because I couldn't remember the name of, but now I'll open the article so I can find it. Mixer. Yes, it's called Mixer. So Mixer now integrates better with the stuff and searching for streams, and how to find streams. And you can now, there's some sort of, this, I didn't understand this. You can, but you can turn on, you don't have to get into it. Yeah. But anyway, there's some sort of thing where you can share the controller with someone who has an Xbox controller plugged into a PC. So I don't know if that means that they can do share play similar to like what PlayStation 4 has, but you can do it via PC, or exactly what that means. Yeah, share controller games. So that must be what it must be, like share play on PlayStation 4, only you can do it from PC as well. You can start Mixer now from anywhere. So they've got an option from all the slide out menus to start the Mixer. And sharing screenshots, screen captures on Twitter is easier. So yeah, a lot of that kind of stuff. And apparently the music app is now accessible from the slide out menu anywhere also as well. So a bunch of stuff, hopefully for those folks out there that are their hardcore Xbox gamers, these are good add-ons. Again, nothing that would have excited me if I did own one, but I don't, so I can't really say much else about that. Today also saw the announcement of the second Insomniac Games Spider-Man pre-order costume. So if you pre-order the game, you've been known that you're going to get 3 costumes that you'll get with that pre-order. The first one announced was Spider-Punk, which is a alternate universe Spider-Man, and has an AoE effect with his guitar. The second one revealed today was the Avengers Infinity War version of the Iron Spider suit. So when you go see Avengers Infinity War, the Iron Spider suit that we saw in Homecoming, you'll have that suit in Infinity War. We've seen that in all the trailers. And that will be the second of the 3 that you will get included with your pre-order. The third one, we don't know yet. I'm still gambling it's going to be a symbiote suit. But that's a touchy, sensitive subject with the whole everything, I'm sure. So
either the symbiote, if I had to make a guess, it'd either be the symbiote or it's Scarlet Spider that has the legs on the back, right?
No, that's Iron Spider.
Really?
Yeah.
Then which one's Scarlet Spider?
Which version? There's a couple of different Scarlet Spiders. The original Scarlet Spider had a maroonish colored spandex suit with a blue hoodie that gets the hood ripped off eventually, with a spider that goes diagonally across it. I guarantee you that suit will be in the game somewhere. Again, these are just the ones you get for pre-ordering.
Right.
Presumably they'll be unlockable in other ways too, or they'll be purchasable later sometime after release.
It'd be kind of funny if they made it a Peter Porker skin.
Peter Porker, the Amazing Spider-Ham. Well, so far, none of the skins that we've seen have deformed the character model, and I don't know how you can play with that one without deforming the character model. So that'd be interesting.
Big pig.
Really, really, really tall, skinny pig. I think they could do. I still think it could be the black costume, because you could just say it's the cloth version, right? You don't have to actually be the Venom suit. It could just literally be the cloth version of the black costume that he made later. But yeah, there's a ton of costumes which actually have character mods on them as well. So it'll be interesting to see. We didn't really see what the Iron Spider's one was. Presumably, it's an attack where he uses the extra legs, but. We did.
I would like to see a 2099 skin, just because.
Oh, there'll be a 2099. Whether it's classic 2099 or new 2099 will be the interesting.
Like classic or new, isn't it always just kind of the blue kind of Mardi Gras, right?
No, the last it was Day of the Dead. Day of the Dead. The newest one, he had a tech version of it made and had add-ins and different colorations to it and stuff. Same basic pattern, but the coloring was different and it had extra tech built into it and stuff. So, there is the new Spider-Man 2099 costume, which actually comes from the present rather than 2099, which is hilarious. It's higher tech, but it's from the present. But anyway, yeah, so we'll keep our eye out for that third one, figure out what that is. And, obviously we're not seeing this game till September, so there's a lot of time between now and then. We'll have a couple of game shows where they'll reveal more stuff, I'm sure. Check out IGN.com to see, or not IGN, excuse me, GameInformer.com has their month of coverage, because this was their cover title for this month. So they've got a bunch of interviews there with folks from Insomniac and just little tidbits on the game. That have been very enjoyable to watch. The latest one is how did this game come to be? How did this happen? How did we get a developer like Insomniac making this game? And it's I totally forgot his name. The head of the studio. Blurf. Anyway, that the interview is with. And he's a great guy to listen, talk to about this stuff. And very much a huge geek. So yeah. The PlayStation Plus games for May have been announced. So interesting. The first one for your PS4 is Beyond Two Souls from Quantic Dream, which are the people who are making Detroit Become Human. What?
Ted Price.
Ted Price. Thank you. the head of Insomniac Games. So Beyond Two Souls is made by Quantic Dream, who is the same folks that have the upcoming game Detroit Become Human, which I did not have in the news, but I could have swore I did. Just had a demo go live this week on PlayStation 4, so you can go download it now. It is the Connor level. If you've watched any of the demo stuff, that's the very first thing we ever saw where we saw a gameplay of it. Connor is a kind of, you want to think it kind of Blade Hunter-esque. He is a android that hunts rogue androids.
So
investigates crimes committed by rogue androids.
Well,
so
I guess technically not Mega Man, more X, but
yeah, but he's not like fighting them.
Yeah.
Right? He's a
detective.
He's a robot cop, right? I mean, he's a detective. He's a detective / negotiator / whatever it takes to stop this rogue android from doing whatever rogue behavior it's doing. So that demo is out now. I haven't played it yet, but there are several endings you can come out with, from what I understand. There was an interview that IGN did with the head of with the developers, some of the developers from the studio, and they asked how many endings are there in the game, and none of them knew. They're like, what?
Oh, wow.
I think it's floating around in an email somewhere, but a lot, because there are so many branching decisions that do come out and change the gameplay.
And how long is the average? Did they give like an average runtime for the game?
I think they're saying about 12 hours, assuming you don't do stuff that makes the game stop very early on. There are ways where you can get the game to be over fairly quickly.
Okay, so this is some really short endings.
Right. There are some you really boned this all up. Here you go away, try again. But the average, I think they said, was around 10 to 12 hours for a average playthrough. Now that's saying there's still dozens apparently of endings you can get in that time frame based on what did you do here? Did you save this person? Did you talk to that person? Did you not talk? Did you pick up this item? Did you not pick up that item? That kind of stuff. So it's really trying to deliver on that promise of choice has impact. That's been very difficult on in games, because in game eventually has to end up somewhere. So anyway, that's coming out May 25th. Detroit Become Human. If you want to see their previous effort, originally released on PlayStation 3, but it has a PlayStation 4, Beyond Two Souls. It's not necessarily looked at as their best game, but it is the one that they did right before this one. Heavy Rain, if you've played, is also a game by that same studio. I enjoyed Heavy Rain a lot.
Is Beyond Two Souls the one where it's the two girls and one of them has like an Esper, for lack of a better term?
I think there's only one girl to the best of my knowledge, and yes, she has a ghost buddy.
Okay.
No, I think the girl exists in two different time zones in the game. So there's younger girl and older girl.
Okay.
But it's a girl. I've not played the game, so I'm just trying to remember things that I've
from the trailers, and I only have like vague memory of like a trailer and stuff. So
yeah, but no, that there is a girl and there is a ghost. I'll give you that much. The other game is Rayman Legends, which I believe people identified has come out on Plus before, but it was not cross-buy and it was on a different platform. So this one's pushing it a little bit, I suppose. But Rayman Legends is a great game. And I did not validate that it has come out before on a different platform. It's just what I saw other people reporting. So if I'm wrong, I apologize. But anyway, Rayman Legends, very solid game. PS4, it's going to look gorgeous. It's a fair game. The other games for PlayStation 3 is Risen 3 Titan Lords. Did not get good reviews. PlayStation 3 Eat Them. I have no idea. I have not looked up what that is. I have no idea. On the Vita, this is the only one that's identified as cross-buy with PS3 and PS4, but I don't know because they didn't identify it right last month or this month, so this could also be wrong. King Oddball, again, did not look up, have no idea, and a game called Furmins. Again, I did not have time to look it up. I apologize. I have no idea what any of those are. Only one on that list I know is Risen 3, and that did not get very good reviews. Doesn't mean it's not good. Doesn't mean you shouldn't give it a shot. Just that's what I know about it. Also, there's still option if you sign up for Spotify Premium through your PS4 on your monthly subscription fee. That is the only extra special deal. Although there's two different sales going on right now. The spring event, the spring event, the dub digital, or is the double done now? There's 2 or 3 different sales events going on right now on the PlayStation 4 store. And your play membership gets you basically most cases a larger discount than the non plus members get. So that is also something to be aware of. Xbox was last. Okay, I think I've hit the things here that just scrolling through here, making sure. I know there's more I wanted to talk about, but I didn't put it in the list. So yeah, I give with the fact that I don't know. Is anything in gaming news that you've seen that you wanted to talk about?
There was one thing that I forgot to mention while I was talking about things I've been up to. Was I've been watching a playthrough of the latest God of War game, which I won't say too much about story or anything or that, but I just wanted to know what you're kind of expecting when you eventually get to this game, or what you're looking forward to. And I can either, or some of your concerns, so maybe I can help assuage or help maybe alleviate any concerns you or some of our viewers might have about this game.
Well, the only concern I've heard anyone have, and the vast majority of people have come out and said that it isn't an issue. There are a few people who have said that I've heard don't care for it, but the only part that I've even heard any rumblings on is the combat, because there are people who are diehard devotees of the old style games with the way out camera and the woof, 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 woof of the chaos blades, or whichever blades it were in the game that you had. Different game, right. Different names. They did the same thing, but they had different names, right? Right. And that this game could somehow make you feel less powerful, or you don't feel like as much of a badass, or and for the most part, those sounds like those concerns are not a valid issue for most people, although some people do seem to have issue with it. From your take on it, I mean, does it seem like the combat is meaty and you're a super powerful guy and you're really ripping up stuff, or have they wimpified poor Kratos?
It's different, but I still think you can say that Kratos isn't in any way wimpy or has lost any of his strength that you see in the old games, but rather you see a much more tempered version of that strength. In this game, you don't have the angry Kratos from the first 3 Gods of War. This is a much more focused and more collected Kratos, focusing, and it shows throughout the entire game, kind of through his relationship with the boy and how that all kind of develops. Yes, boy. Anytime I hear someone say boy now, I just think of Kratos going, boy.
This is a Christopher for Kratos in this game is Christopher Judge, who you may know as Teal'c from.
But the only thing that I've kind of been surprised by is I haven't heard him say indeed. He hasn't.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
Indeed.
Boy is kind of his indeed for this. It seems like, so that was his line in Stargate SG-1 was indeed.
A lot of some of that Kratos' dialogue, sometimes it just like wandering around and stuff, is either boy, boy.
but I mean, you're able to understand what he means. I mean,
Yeah.
he's able to convey, from what I've heard and understand, he conveys a lot with very little.
Yeah.
He's able to put a lot of the way he says boy in 1,000 different ways of saying, kind of like the 1,000 different ways to say I am Groot, right?
Yeah.
That Vin Diesel recorded. And even though it seems minimalistic, they're still able to convey a lot with how they do it.
There's a really funny moment in there where during some of the travels, there's you get some of the Norse mythology and some of the background of this version of that world, and the boy asks Kratos to tell him stories. And the way it goes is comedic because Kratos isn't someone who's gonna like mince words or like go through like an intricate story or anything, right? So pretty much what he does is he takes what I believe to be like Greek myths and legends and breaks them down into stories that are said in like maybe 2 or 3 sentences.
So is this kind of like this is a variation on the movie plot. We're stepping on each other. Go ahead.
No, he pretty much goes through the basics of the story and what the moral of the story is.
So I was gonna say, is this kind of like movie plots explained badly? Kind of variation.
A little bit, yeah. But it's if you ever get the chance to see, it's really interesting to see the relation. Although the person I was been watching play it says like the relationship kind of between them is kind of reminds him of Joel and Ellie, if you know any of that kind of relationship. And also he said that the way that there's almost kind of like a semi-constant dialogue between the characters also kind of reminded him of Uncharted 4 or the Uncharted games, how those characters kind of interact with each other.
Yeah, I'm sure Santa Monica looked at all those types of games and they borrowed the best of breed to build this system, because the worst thing they could have done is implemented this companion system poorly, and that would have just killed the game. So
but actually the person I watched I'm watching play this, he said that in his opinion Atreus is one of the best implemented support characters that he's ever / companions in a game that he's seen.
Yeah, and that seems to be
saying something.
Yeah, that seems to be pretty constant in the feedback. I mean, we're talking about a game that's got a 95 on Metacritic, which is ridiculous. That's like impossible. So yeah, I'm expecting a lot. The more and more we saw about this game, when I first saw the game and we saw the trailer and we saw the older, more wizened, if you will, Kratos, it already was like, oh, I'm going to enjoy this game a lot more than I did the first 3. Because I've played 1, 2, and 3. I haven't played either the PS3 games. I haven't played, but
I believe this one is much more your speed, and plus, guess what? You can move your own camera.
Oh heavens, Betsy! I played 3 late. I did not play 3 when it came out, even though I bought it when it came out. I did play it late. Time every game had a user-controlled camera. And going back to a fixed camera for that type of game, I don't know how many times I rolled off a cliff pushing the stick trying to turn the stupid camera, which made you roll instead. I think this game is always, the more and more we learned about this game, the more and more it seemed like a game for me. Right. The everything I've heard about the axe as a weapon is great. But even that's not your only weapon. You are a weapon.
Right.
It seems like it's a much more paced combat style, which I think works well, but it's not paced in the sense that it's boring or tedious. It's paced in the sense that it's just not button mashing.
Right. It's a lot less of the brawler style. It's a lot more balanced. I'm trying to think of a combat system that I know that you could compare it to almost, and I'm having a very difficult time doing that because it's a unique combat system, but it's
unique. Yeah. So I actually have really high expectations for this game, and I don't know of any downsides other than it's 30 hours long, and I don't have 30 hours to pour into yet another game.
Yeah, and it seems like at first glance, you wouldn't think that this would be a game that would have a whole lot of like extra stuff to do, really, because it's God of War, right? But it actually seems like this is a pretty decent open world game almost.
Yeah, from what
It's got some depth to it, and it's got a lot in it.
from what I've heard from other, reviews talking is, it's the wide hallway, right? It's kind of Final Fantasy 15, that there are areas and you go to that area and everything in that area is open, and then you traverse to another area and it's similar. So it's kind of like a bunch of, maybe the best way is did you play Lost, the Uncharted one, Lost
Yeah, yeah,
Legacy?
yeah.
Lost. So
That
that middle part where you're driving around in the Jeep, it's like a bunch of those stacked around, if you will.
that's actually kind of a good way to put it, because you have your central location, but then from there you can branch out to small different areas and then larger areas that are more related to the story and stuff. But yeah, so you've kind of got your hub, but then there's everything around that, and
there's a lot of. It sounds like there's some backtracking, not a lot, but there's some backtracking.
Yeah,
so
just like kind of like what you would expect from an open world game as far as backtracking go. Like you get an ability, and you're like, oh, so that's how I do that thing I couldn't do before.
Right.
And then
that's how I
back and do that thing.
Go back and get the chest.
Yeah.
But yeah, it sounds like I haven't heard a bad thing about the game, except for a couple of things where I've seen where people just flat out do not like the because want the old blades and they want their way out camera and they just want to whoosh, 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 which honestly by God of War 3, I didn't find that rewarding anymore because they kept on doing things with the enemies to make them trickier, which made just whoosh, whoosh, whooshing a lot harder. So you were having to implement tactics and methods to get past them anyway. So I guess I don't really get it, but
that's something that they still do in this one. They actually do have like different enemies that you actually have to try different tactics to. Because, for example, there's enemies that are immune to the Leviathan axe. So you literally have to go hand-to-hand combat with these guys.
Right. And there's enemies where you have to, or it's highly recommended at least, that you use Atreus to do certain stuff because that opens.
Because they're just...
There's different stats you can adjust, I guess, so you can kind of almost make different builds of Kratos, from what I understand.
Yeah, there actually is. I know from what I've seen in the game, I know kind of what build I would do, which isn't how the person I'm watching is doing it, which I'm kind of like, dude, you're doing this wrong. But but he has a good way of going about it. But I mean, yeah.
But and just all the cool things you can do with the axe, the different stuff that goes on there. And then, Norse, if Hellblade taught me nothing else, is that I want more games in Norse mythology. It's just one of these unexplored realms. And, people that think they know Norse mythology, yeah, that's a really watered down version.
Yeah, no, like there's a lot that I didn't know about. Like Marvel Odin, that's not Odin.
No, it's not.
That's not
Marvel
Odin.
Thor is not Thor. Marvel Loki is probably the closest to Loki, but even not.
Yeah, no. Like everything in Marvel, you think you know Norse mythology because of Marvel? You know nothing, child.
You know the craft singles version of Norse mythology.
No, you got your fake cheese. This has the real cheese. We're from Wisconsin. We know what the real cheese is.
It's probably more Velveeta than Kraft Singles. Kraft Singles is probably still too much cheese. I don't know what Velveeta is. It's not cheese, but it is delicious. So is that stuff in the handy snacks packs. That's definitely not cheese either, but it is delicious.
Or that cheese that comes out of a spray can.
In the can, like, cheese, yes.
That's Marvel.
This is devolved quickly. And we are pushing up on 2 hours here, so we should probably tie up.
Probably.
So May 25th is Solo, and I still haven't seen pre-order tickets go on sale for this movie yet. So that's interesting. I'm not sure exactly what's going on there. Yours was like months in advance, and Black Panther was months in advance. So
We're like waiting for it. Just like we need to, but
I need to figure out when we're going to see this. By the way, the next Avengers movie, if Sunday turns out to be the date that everyone can go, I'm probably seeing it before everybody else because this is painful. It hasn't even actually launched yet, and I'm already in pain. So, I'm getting old. I might die in those 4 days between launch and getting to watch it. So, yeah. Boy. Yeah, I just love that Chris Judge. He was on the live stream that the Sony did for the Go Live event when it went live on PSN. So they had Christopher Judge and the kid who played Atreus on there for a while, and he couldn't personally, at least in his presentation to the public, he couldn't be more different from Kratos. But it's just. I always enjoyed him, and I always enjoyed the character of Teal'c in what Christopher Judge brought to Teal'c in SG1, and it just tickles me. Everything meta about this God of War game is built for me. Bear McCreary doing the soundtrack. I love Bear McCreary soundtracks. Christopher Judge doing the voice of Kratos. I love Christopher Judge. The story-driven game. I love story-driven games. This is why I don't play MMOs, because I love story-driven games.
Yep.
It's just everything about this game just kept on building and building and building. We're back to talking about God of War. Why are we back to talking about God of War?
I said boy.
You said boy. You gotta be careful not to put a Southern accent on it, otherwise that carries a completely different meaning. Right. Okay. So final thoughts. I think you basically gave yours. Mine is I need to
Hero Punch Justice. That's my final thought.
Soon. I guess my final thought is purchased Breaking Benjamin's latest album called Ember. Finally got a chance to give it a listen through.
Fiery Eyeballs.
Fiery Eyeball. I've only had one listen through. So this is my opinion after one listen through. Not as good as Dusk Before Dawn, which was the previous album. They are definitely pushing with the first half of the album is pushing for a harder sound similar to their first and second album, which is good. But the back half of the album, I think, is way superior to the front half of the album.
I'll be honest. I like Ben's softer stuff a lot more than their heavier stuff.
Well, considering that one of our family's favorite song off of the first album was the Rain song, I think that pretty much sets the tone. That was the one song that was like completely not even like anything else on the album. But there are a couple of really good softer songs. There's one on there that I'm going to have to give a few hundred listens through to try to analyze and work my way through. Has a very Ashes of Eden-esque style to it. So it's
okay. You should send me the name so I can look it up.
I don't remember it off the top of my head. I'll have to go look it up off the album cover. But yeah, it's a solid album. I enjoyed the whole. There wasn't a single track I was like, oh my gosh, skip. So every track was solid. I just don't think it wasn't quite the level of Dusk Before Dawn, personally for me. But still, if you like Breaking Benjamin, solid, especially if you like their harder stuff, you'll like the front half of the album more. Back half of the album is still harder, but it's a little more, I don't want to say lyrical because all their songs are lyrical, but
right.
I can't think of a better word.
It's the more I don't know,
less
for lack of a better term, softer.
Less screaming.
Yeah.
Or whatever that is that he does. It's not really screaming, but that thing he does with his voice.
Ben Scream.
Ben Scream, yes. So yeah, I will not leave you with words of horrible, horrible wisdom as Mark would. Mark apologizes again for not being here tonight with us, but he is hosting a giant pre-Avengers party. He's got people coming in from coast to coast, literally, to watch this movie with him multiple times over the course of the next few days. So he's playing host to a bunch of geeks and in a very small apartment in San Francisco.
All right. So instead of words of wisdom, I'm going to pop quiz you.
Okay.
Okay, so since we've been kind of talking about God of War, name one of the Norse giants.
Oh gosh. You would have to catch me on a day where my brain's not working because I should be able to listen. I should be able to do at least one.
Or major Norse figure other than a god.
Major Norse figure other than a god. Ooh, does Fenrir count as a god? Giant wolf.
He's Loki's child, but he's a son of a giantess in Loki, so I guess Fenrir can count. I'll give it to you.
Okay.
But interesting factoid. Do you know that Jormungandr and Fenrir are half siblings? Actually, no. They're full siblings.
I know that Loki in Norse had multiple children, I thought with multiple giantesses, but he doesn't have any.
Fenrir and Jorm.
But I could be wrong. I could be wrong on that.
I might be wrong too, I thought. Interesting fact. Loki has a snake and a wolf for a child. There you go.
Yes. Yeah. Leifei, I believe, is actually the ice giant who in the movies is portrayed as Loki's father. I believe is an actual giant from mythology. I don't believe he's portrayed as, I think he's different again as portrayed, but
do you know the king of the giants or the first giant?
Oh, I should. I should.
Ymir.
I should have known that one. Totally should have known that one.
All right, well, game out.
You got one? No. Well, I was wondering if between the two of us, could we come up with all the realms?
All right. Starting at the bottom, we got Helheim, Niflheim, a Muspelheim.
That's the dwarves, right?
No, Niflheim's dwarves. Niflheim is dwarves and dark elves, depending.
Okay.
So Helheim, Niflheim, Muspelheim, Jotunheim, Vanaheim, Midgard, Asgard?
Good job. There's one of there that I could never remember.
Vanaheim?
Yeah.
Home of the Vanir or Vanir, which are the nature gods.
Yeah.
Rather than the Aesir, which are the more brutal gods. AKA Thor and Odin and such.
Yes. They're not nice people.
Which are also known as the Aesir.
Yes.
Yes. Which is why it's called Asgard.
Right. And they are, so they're the new gods as opposed to the other ones, which are the old gods. And yeah, the Asgardians, they're not nice people. They're not good.
No.
They're really not.
No.
They're really jackholes. Yeah. Not good.
Yeah.
So be glad we have the Marvel versions of them because they're a lot nicer.
Yeah. That Thor is much nicer than actual Thor.
Yeah, Thor's a drunken dork.
In Marvel.
Well, no, yeah, in Marvel he's much nicer.
In actual Norse mythology, he's kind of insane. So's Odin.
They all are kind of really.
Yeah.
They're personifications of Viking.
Yeah, bad
attributes.
Habits.
Yeah.
All right. So
anyway, we'll stop before we go insane. All right. Thank you very much for joining me tonight. We'll be back next week. Next week we should be doing a spoiler cast for Infinity War. I don't know if it'll be part of our regular broadcast or if it'll be a separate broadcast. We haven't made that call yet. As you can tell, we've had a hard time getting the game together these days.
Yep.
People and lives and stuff, so it sucks. But we'll have some level of discussion, afterthoughts on the movie, whether it'll be the back half of the podcast, so you can, cut out if you haven't seen it yet, or if we do it as a separate broadcast. Not sure. Probably try to do it as a separate broadcast because I know there's a couple of folks we want to try to get in there that probably can't do the Wednesday night thing. So I'll let you know. So if you can participate, if you can.
All right.
But all right. Till then, thanks for watching and game on.
Game out.